Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jawad from Total Health and Wellness Center. I get a lot of questions from my students, from my patients, and just people on the street, and they're always asking me, the one question is peanut butter bad for you or is it good for you? What's the difference between peanut butter? What's the difference between almond butter comparatively? Because honestly, peanut butter is very cheap while almond butter is very expensive. The average container of peanut butter is about $3. The average container of almond butter will run you anywhere from $9 to $12, depending on where you're going. So the question is always, is peanut butter bad for you? And it depends on, it's kind of a two-part question. Number one of the main issues that I have with peanut butter is the fact that how much you use it. Now, the thing about peanut butter is that in the daily American diet, there are omegas 3s, 6s, and 9s. And omega 6s and 9s are what's called pro-inflammatory. They will actually cause inflammation in our body, while omega 3s are what's called anti-inflammatory, which will actually decrease the inflammation in our body. And the thing about peanut butter is that it's high in omega 6s, which in the standard American diet, we're taking in too much omega 6s anyways. So by adding peanut butter, you're just really what you're doing, you're causing a lot of what's called systemic inflammation to our bodies because you're adding too much omega 6s and not enough omega 3s to counteract that. So that's one of my main concerns about peanut butter. It's too high in omega 6s, which will cause inflammation. Okay, my second issue with peanut butter is most peanuts are grown on the ground. So what happens is that they obtain a lot of moisture. And so when they obtain a lot of moisture, a lot of them contain mycotoxins and even molds. So did you ever notice in the past 30 years or so that we have a lot of kids who have peanut allergies if they ingest them or even if they're around them? It's because a lot of the peanuts, and it's a cheap nut. It's a legume. So a lot of times the peanuts are cheap, like I said earlier, that do you ever notice that a small container of Jiffy is like $2 or $3, but a container the same size of almond butter is a little more costly? That kind of tells you something, that the peanut is, in my book, the peanut's a dirty nut and it's cheap. So this is why I advise all my students, patients, anybody who's asking, what do I think about peanut butter? I just say, first and foremost, just stay away from them. Okay, so if you are going to stick with peanut butter and you're not thoroughly convinced that almond butter is better for you, that's fine, but just keep one thing in mind. Remember that peanut butter is jammed with omega 6s, which will cause you to have a more inflammatory response. So what you want to do, you want to combat that by increasing the omega fish oils, which is, again, omega 3s, which will help, like a teeter-totter, combat that pro-inflammatory state to help decrease the inflammation with the omega 3s. However, if you're going to still stick with the peanut butter, still stick with moderation, okay? Because I know the switch is really not an easy switch to make, especially if it's taste or even monetary. However, almond butter. First and foremost, almond butter is an excellent source of protein. 2, almonds also help in the prevention of cardiovascular disease. Also, almond butter is good to help stabilize blood sugar for if you're a diabetic or even pre-diabetic. So almond butter is an excellent choice. It's jammed with vitamin E and all these other trace minerals and vitamins that I'm showing up, I think, onto my right here. So, they're just jammed with, again, calcium, phosphorus, a lot of good stuff that almond butter is a better choice to pick. Okay, so this leads to my biggest obstacle with my patients and people that I talk to about the differences between peanut butter and almond butter. One of the things I always say is caloric intake. Yes, I know that almond butter has a higher caloric intake per 2 tablespoons compared to peanut butter. And the reason why is that almond butter is higher in what's called polyunsaturated fats, the monounsaturated fats, as well as the omega 3s. Now, all those dietary fats our body needs for cellular function. Our brain and spinal cord and the nervous system runs on 2 major components, proteins and dietary fats. That's why another reason why almond butter is actually the better choice, because it does have the polyunsaturated fats, the monounsaturated fats, as well as the omega 3s to also, to combat inflammation. So you're actually turning your body that is from the standard American diet, which is pro-inflammatory, by taking an almond butter, it's actually going to decrease inflammation And that's in the gut, that's in the brain, that's overall body aches and pains. So utilizing almond butter is a better choice overall. Now, one thing that I also instruct them is don't be too concerned about the salt intake. Unless you have like a kidney situation or some type of cardiovascular disease where salt intake is a must to look out for, don't be too concerned about the salt intake. Just make sure you balance anytime you're taking a large amounts of salt, make sure you balance out your salt intake with water. Now, the question is, how much water do you take on a daily basis? And I know I deal with a lot of patients who say that even taking 2 glasses of water is a big chore. Idealistically, you should take in 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight. Every time you urinate, the urine should be clear unless you're taking in vitamins or you're dehydrated first thing in the morning. Other than that, I know going to the bathroom is a chore. However, if you think about this one benefit with water, it does flush out your system. It flushes out your kidneys. It flushes out your liver. It's good for the blood. It decreases headaches. It decreases joint aches because the body, don't forget, it's about 80% water, give or take, depending on what reference you read. So the moment you actually feel thirsty, you're dehydrated. So by increasing water intake does balance out your body in more ways than I have time on this film for. Okay, so definitely don't be too concerned about the salt intake. Now, again, almond butter, there's a lot of choices of almond butter out there. It's going to run you anywhere from like $9 to $13 a container. Again, you're paying for quality. The reason why Bentley is so expensive is because you're paying for quality versus Chevy or so. My choice, again, I have Justin's almond butter. There's different flavors. I like this. It's at my local Whole Foods or my local grocery store in the organic section, the health food store. So this is one of my brands I like to have. So that's my take on almond butter versus peanut butter. So if you like what you saw, do me a favor. Like what you see on Facebook. Be sure to share with a friend, but also one step further, and this is the first time I'm asking, I forget to ask anybody who's watching, if you like what you see, write a good review. If you're on YouTube, on my YouTube page, write a little review or a question. I answer all the questions. Or if you're on my Facebook page, just write a little remark down there. This helps with the Facebook traffic. It helps because Facebook understands that if I have a lot of traffic, then I would broadcast more of my content. So I'm trying to pick up content. So click a like, click with a share. My email address, my Facebook is www.totalhealthdepage.com. The YouTube page is the JDoc Real Minute. My phone number is 630-653-2225. I'm Dr. Jawad. I hope you had a great time watching this video. It was a pleasure, and thank you very much. Take care.